proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording transcript or any other comprehensive record of proceeding as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, let's see. Can we all stand for the pledge, please, if you're able to? And John, Mr. Boyle, would you lead us, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Can you hear me?
And to the republic.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Brittany, would you do the roll call, please? You gotta unmute yourself,
Mr.
Brittany.
Chairman,
Yes.
Brittany sent a message saying that she was trying to call in.
Okay, I see her picture there. She looks like she's muted.
Let's see what it says here. Okay. She's still trying to get in.
Okay, well, I'll do the roll call then. Okay, Dan Esco,
Here.
John Boyle,
Here.
Joe Diver,
Here.
Mark Stroud. He texted me earlier. He wasn't sure if he was going to make it, so he's excused. And Bob Bishop's here, and Sandy Albano.
I'm here.
Okay, Sandy, you're muted.
I know. I'm here.
Okay, can't hear her. Okay, the first thing on the agenda was Jane Smith, our town health agent. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta back up. There are no minutes for October 26th, so we're gonna skip that. The public to address the board. This is a time when the public may address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or any matter or issue of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask you to do the following. Use the Zoom link or dial 684-6111, extension 28. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company/institution you represent. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. The chair or their designee may answer questions or on procedural matters. Please be cordial and respectful of others. If anyone wishes to be recognized when the board discusses an agenda item, please make the request at this time. The board chair may grant this request, address comments to the board chair, and be concise. Is there anyone out there who would like to speak on anything?
Mr. Chairman, this is Douglas Boyle.
Yes.
I might want to speak during agenda item 9, if I may.
9. Okay, you got it.
Thank you, sir.
Doug? Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Like I started to say, Jane Smith is attending another meeting at the moment, so she asked to be pushed down on the agenda. And when she logs on, we'll get her in here. So we'll move down to number 7, appointments. Solid Waste Committee members. Okay. Wait a minute. We should wait to probably wait to do that after we talk to Jane. Is that appropriate? Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, I agree with that, Bob.
Okay. Okay. We'll go to item 8. Resolution grant, small scale initiative grant. The town has received a grant of $750. Mr. Divers, would you motion to accept it, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the grant for the benefit of the town of Dalton. Whereas the town of Dalton has received a grant of $750 from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection for Sustainable Materials Recovery Program.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay. A motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Dan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. And our next agenda item. Okay. We're gonna open this license board right now. And we're gonna talk about discussion on alcoholic licensing. Sandy, are you want to be able to speak to this, or can we hear you?
Yep, you can hear me.
Okay.
So this is a request from the VFW who, he doesn't know when he's going to be able to open because they don't serve food. He's basically I guess you call him a bar.
Okay.
And the only time they do serve food is when they have an event there. So he was, says he probably cannot afford the cost. And there was a request that the Legion was in the same boat, the American Legion on North Street.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's not just they don't just have their license for alcohol, but they also have like entertainment, jukeboxes or whatever it is they got there. That's another couple $100. So.
Yeah, they're not the only ones too, as I understand. There's basically some bars that don't serve food.
Right. There's yeah, I think so too. A couple of them.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 that I know of offhand that cannot raise the money right now because they can't open. So I was thinking if we should just go ahead and let them not pay until they open up, maybe like 60 days after they open up, after this pandemic sits. Or John, I know you were going to say something about that also, so I'll call on you.
Bob, being close to the industry, of course, you're absolutely correct. There are several, in addition to the aforementioned Legion and VFW, there's several, in fact, one right across the street. They haven't been open since, I believe, February or March. And just to notate, they paid for their license for the whole year of 2020. So they didn't even actually get to use it for 1 or 9/10 of the season. So that's lost money right there. But in the upcoming season, Mr. Chairman, I think you mentioned to me that we could maybe come up with some kind of plan to forward financial relief to, now again, we are talking about on-premise licenses.
Right.
Okay, on-premise, all alcoholic license, i.e. bars and restaurants. And my thought was, Mr. Chairman, that we would waive the fees for 2021 and then revisit the issue in June before July 1st. And then if folks are up and running, we reinstitute the fees on July 1st on a pro rata basis. That's just my thinking is the simplest way to do it if we're a mind to. And this industry has definitely been hard hit. It's probably the only industry that's been forced to close completely.
Yeah.
Bars. And restaurants have opened a little bit, curbside service, takeout, but a lot of the ones that serve food didn't even do that because there's no money in it. So it's definitely an impact to the industry, and it would seem like a good token of the town's awareness of this situation in an attempt to have our own little stimulus plan, so to speak.
Yeah, it's only going to be like 4 or 5 places, correct?
Well, I made a list, and surprisingly, it's up for about 10 or 11.
Okay.
And crazy as it might sound, 3 of the licenses are at where you formerly worked.
Right.
Yeah, so right there's 3. Then there's probably 6 or 7 other ones throughout the town. Legion, VFW, Reds, at least on Depot Street, Patty's, there's one on Daly Avenue, I forget the name, Jacobs, and then there's the Dalton restaurant. I may have forgotten, the 3 in the stationery factory being the brew house, the distillery, and for lack of a better word, Steve's Nightclub. I don't know if it has a name.
It's an event. It's events.
Yeah, event center. So that's what I would just suggest if the board has the mind to do that. Not,
Well, I
I'm going to guess that if we don't provide some kind of relief, some of these license applicants, these applications have to be renewed in December, in November. That they may not even bother to, if they can't pay for it, even to fill out the paperwork to renew, and therefore we would lose those businesses in Dalton.
Absolutely. We don't want to lose any business in Dalton at this point, so I have a great tendency to agree with you, John. We need to do something. Dan or Joe, you have any?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to highlight that Mr. Doug Boyle wanted to talk about this topic in the public open session, so I'd like to hear from Mr. Doug Boyle.
Okay, Doug, you got anything to say? No, he's muted. Oh, there you go.
No, I just, I mean, really, everyone had really hit on everything I wanted to say, but most importantly, I wanted to point out that it sounds like, for the most part, everybody's kind of on board with this, but most importantly, in something like this, it's for a lot of businesses who may not be affected by this coronavirus shutdown right now. It looks nice to them as well that the town is looking out for those businesses that are, so that in the future, if something happens to them, they know that the town is looking out for the businesses that have been here and are part of this town. So I think that, you know, even if there is, you know, the thought of a cost involved to this to the town, in the long run, it's an investment in businesses that choose to be here and serve the community. So I think this is a positive regardless of whatever cost may be involved at the present. That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I just got a text message that there is a Miss Melissa Davis on the line who would like to speak. I'm not sure about what topic. She's unable to unmute herself for some reason. So Sandra, I think you're in control. Can you unmute Melissa Davis?
I can try.
She's our town collector.
While we're waiting, Mr. Chairman, I'll just say brief remarks. Mr. Boyle, your intent is for all license fees to be suspended?
For on-premise licenses.
On-premise license?
Yep. Yes, the overwhelming majority is of the monies that they pay. I think it's 625 is for the annual license. The remainder, and I think they pay on an average of $800. The remainder is for 2 boxes, as Sandy pointed out, pool tables, game machines, entertainment licenses, and common vicular license. So they make up the other part. Yes, and it was my intention just to keep it simple, just wait to fee on all of them.
I was just thinking, in terms of being equitable, I'd imagine at least the places that are closed would definitely need this type of relief, so they maintain their licenses. The businesses that are open, I suppose it would be a goodwill gesture, but is it necessary, I guess, I would ask, just in the interest of the expense.
Well, Dan, what I've been able to determine that being open isn't really being open. In fact, those that are open, as I said, with curbside service, takeout, and limited indoor seating, now that's even getting more restrictive because the governor has a new order that no place of gathering can be open past 9:30 at night. They probably have a little income, but it's negligible. And I'm certain they would appreciate it.
Very good point. Yep.
Okay, Melissa, do you want to say something?
Joe, it doesn't look like her microphone is muted. There's no arrow through it.
Yeah, the unmute just came off a second ago. So I'm not sure if she's having another technical issue on her side.
So I don't know. I just texted her to tell her that she looks like her microphone is not muted.
No, I agree.
Well,
As we're waiting for that to continue this conversation, Dan, I think you asked the same questions that are on top of my mind, so thank you for that. And John, thanks for that insight. I would be in favor of making this adjustment.
Okay.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to put this in form of a motion?
Can we hang out 1 minute, John? I want to see if we
Yeah.
can hear what Melissa has to say.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
Since she's a collector.
Melissa is probably wanting to talk about the sewer stuff.
Okay.
So,
All right, then go ahead, John, make your motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that for calendar year 2021, we waive all the fees for on-premise all alcoholic licenses. And that this matter be revisited at the end of June prior to July 1st. And if, in fact, these businesses are then up and running, we would reinstate the fees on a prorated basis for the remainder of 2021.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And just to amend that, John, just question, and I'm not aware, are the entertainment licenses separate, or are they embedded in that on-prem alcohol license?
No,
No, they're-
they're separate.
yeah.
Do
So
we
that- but-
we also want to waive those as well?
Well,
Yeah, and there's they can't use it.
Yeah.
And there's several small ones, Joe, like, as I said, pool tables,
And
jukeboxes, game machines. They can't use those either. So what would probably happen is somebody that was going to renew their license would not renew them because he would say, I'm not renewing them because I can't use them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's,
Can I make a little point there?
Sure.
They still have to renew them. We're just waiving their fees
Yes.
because I think if they
Correct.
don't renew their license, it goes away and becomes a new.
You're exactly right, Sandy. You definitely want to renew the license. Because if you don't renew it with the paperwork in November, it will go away. And then, yeah, possibly you could get it back, but it would be complex to say the least.
Okay, so we're renewing the
Good point.
license. We're renewing the licenses without the fees, basically.
Right.
Okay. Can I have a second to that motion, please?
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
was that motion in fact to waive the fees? Is that what the wording of that motion was? Just
Waive the
point of clarity.
fees and issue the licenses without the fees.
Okay.
And waiving the fees only up to next July 1st, 2021. Then we will revisit the issue prior to July 1st and possibly reinstitute them, but at a prorated basis. In other words, 50% of the year.
Yeah.
It just makes it simple.
Yeah,
Makes
I understood that part for sure.
Okay, is everybody good?
Yep.
Yeah, and I would like to suggest one thing, Bob, just for discussion. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or to do or not, but I think we maybe want to do a little press release that we're doing this for our town, or some communication so people are aware of it, and it may attract other businesses that we're a very business-friendly town. So
Yeah, well, we gotta protect our businesses. I mean, they're our lifeblood. I mean, there's a lot of people here that've been here, like John said, for years and years and years, and there's a lot of new people coming in town too.
I think it's good.
Bob, that's exactly the point. We're at the point in the town economic situation where we got to protect what we have.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's nice to look for business to come to town, but we got to look out for what we have. And this is one industry has been 100% impacted.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, I don't want to brag about it, but I mean, the stationery factory is that beautiful building just sitting there. And
Yep.
It's such a shame.
Yep.
And then they're just locked. They can't do anything. So, yes. Jane,
Sorry. So the stationery factory or the brew house, there's a situation where there's going to be a new owner running the bar. Will that fee be waived as well?
No,
Yeah.
is it going to be a new owner, Jane, or a manager?
manager, John.
Well, I think
Well, it's a difference.
It's kind of in between that, maybe.
Well, it's either or, but that would be totally separate. And the time comes, license transfer to a new owner is a process. Changing a manager is just a vote by the board anytime. So, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, though.
Okay. All right, roll call vote. Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Bob, yes. I hope, I'm just so glad we did this because I honestly believe it's the right thing to do right now, so. Okay.
Hello?
All right, now we'll go back.
Hi.
Jane's on.
I'm going to put you on speaker. Are you up
Joe, you made
next?
an excellent point. If Sandy could prepare a press release stating that we have waived these fees for 2021, so the license can be renewed, but
No, Board
without
of
the
Health
fees,
is going on
in their
right now.
interest of stimulating an impacted industry in the town of Dalton, or and forward it to the Eagle.
Okay, so you're coming up then. I'm
Yeah,
gonna put
I
you on
see
speaker.
there's no
Okay?
reporter on duty here tonight, so.
Okay, we'll have Sandy do that, okay? All right, now, Jane, on the Board of Health updates. Okay, the first, you got your
May I
first,
add one quick thing before we move on, Mr. Chairman?
yes.
It's also let the licensees know as well that they just got it, so,
Yes, we'll get word to them.
yeah, thank you.
Good point.
It might be nice to let them know.
Yeah, so some of them are looking under the couch cushions right now for that $800.
Yeah, I bet they are, collecting bottles or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, next we're gonna go back to item 6, Board of Health updates. Jane, you're first. We got Dalton's response to
So
COVID-19.
now they're going
the governor's,
to Board of Health
new
updates.
orders. And you are
Yes.
up, lady.
Thank you, Bob. So yes, the governor has issued
Melissa,
some new orders
They just decided to
last
go
Monday
back
that
to the
were
Board of
effective
Health
as of
updates.
Friday.
So,
That
I'll
included
just
a
keep you on
order
speaker.
for
Is
there
that
to
okay?
be, so the mask order,
okay.
which requires face coverings or masks to be worn in anytime in the public, that's indoors and outdoors, which is a change from the past. It was public spaces, except for when 6 feet of distance could be maintained. So now they're saying if it's a public space, even if you can maintain the 6-foot distance, people still need to be masked up. And so we've been working together, Don, Sandy, and I have been working together to look to see what that means for Dalton spaces. That includes, obviously town hall or town-run buildings and, employees. That includes also how to kind of interpret outdoor spaces and like what's a public outdoor space. And I was just talking to the town of Alford about that. So Alford looks a lot different than parts of Dalton where, I don't think there is a sidewalk in the whole town of Alford. Dalton does have sidewalks, and just like a lot of things, these orders were written for the eastern part of the state, which looks really good.
I think we froze up.
Getting the kids back in school is really important. They're seeing high rates of depression, increased rates of obesity.
Okay, I'm on
Many
mute
children
right
are
now,
much
so
safer
what am I
at
gonna
school
do
than they
anyway?
are at home. It's stressing the financial lives of their parents. So there are a lot of negatives to
Okay.
having kids outside of school.
Okay.
And so I think,
Goodbye.
in my mind, where the dichotomy is that we're making sacrifices so that our community can be at a point where we can send our kids to school. And that's really prioritizing that as something that's really important to us.
Yep. And then those orders are really statewide, so you got a lot of red area in the eastern part of the state, a lot of gray zones in our community, so good stuff. Thanks, Jeff.
I would anticipate that we'll continue to see pressure to continue to open the schools up. Dr. Dan Doyle and I correspond with the school while at least weekly, but go to all of their safety and wellness committees. He's there tonight. They have their meeting at the same time as this one, as you had said. But I think the biggest indicator for closing down and clamping down schools really has to do with the fact of if COVID is spreading within the school community, and that was it also, that's been the message that we've had for a while, and the governor's office and DESE is finally starting to, say it's not just the numbers in the community, it also has to do with if it's in the school and if it's spreading in the
Going
school.
and out. Is yours too?
Well, at home, yeah.
Um, so that's kind of the COVID update.
Going on.
As I had mentioned,
Couldn't hear it all. And then meeting started.
we are, Dawn, Sandy, and myself are working on doing some
I don't know
updated
if you saw the comment.
policies and procedures, and I'll let her talk about that. If any interim action that should possibly be taken, but we're going to look at things like measuring each of the offices and really look to see, should there be more than one person in a particular office? Where can we have more people than just having one person? When is it? What's the tipping point for when people should be putting on their face coverings? Those types of things all have to be fleshed out pretty well so that they make sense for everybody, keeping the employees safe and the public safe as well. So that's kind of my COVID update.
Okay, scary times.
One more thing I would mention is we should definitely be consistent as a town, and I just want to make sure, that we're sending the right message. And, I would say you walk into any indoor space, everyone should probably have a mask. I mean, I guess that would seem to be the guidance at this point. So
yeah. Well, you're largely right, Dan. What a lot on our, we meet with the state twice a week, and what the wording or what the message that we're getting back from is any public space, people should be wearing a face covering. And then you're splitting hairs about, what is a public space. If you have an office that's not open to the public and no one goes in there and it's just one person sitting at a desk, is that a public space? And so you're right. We want to be consistent, not just within the town, but also within the state and working with other towns. So for the policies that we're putting together, we're actually working off of Pittsfield as kind of the base, and then which were written before the new mandates or the new orders. And so, I would anticipate we would be sharing those with some of the other surrounding towns and getting some feedback from that. So I would anticipate whatever happens would be consistent with most of the towns, like Hinsdale, certainly Pittsfield, probably definitely Egremont, because I have a close relationship with that, possibly Sheffield. I know that those are getting a little bit farther away, but I feel like, the more that we public health officials can be on the same voice, then it's a lot less confusing for people.
Okay.
thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Any other COVID questions for Jane?
I have a question for myself.
Go for
Why
it.
am I here? No, just on a side note, there is public health students that are volunteering to do projects, and so I have engaged with them to help me do some public messaging. And I've been working on the website, and then that was when phase 3 happened, and I was so close to finishing it, and I just threw up my hands. And so luckily, since then, the state has kind of changed its format so that the links don't change every time something changes. And so they'll be helping with that. And then also, I had a pretty good database of businesses that we put together, including the email addresses, which is like the golden standard of communication these days when things are moving so fast. And so they're going to help me fill out the rest of the emails for businesses, and then that way we can send targeted messaging to each of the sectors. And I think that's going to be well received. And I know that when we did it at the beginning, maybe May is when I did my first mailing out to everybody. It helped establish some relationships that have come in handy since.
That's great.
Fantastic. Okay, are we ready to move on to the Waste Management Committee? Okay, the board needs to, I'm going to suggest that the board nominate their representative now, and then we can go in to Jane's list. So I'm going to open up for nominations. Is there any nominations out there?
Yeah, I'd like to just throw my name out there, Bob. This is something that, worked on before, as Jane was coming on board. She and I have had some points of collaboration on this, and this has all kind of resulted in the discussions related to our transfer station contracts. I'd like to see this through because I feel ownership of this, meaning that from the design and everything, and make sure it moves in the right direction, which I think it will. But if no one else is interested, I'd certainly throw my name out there.
Okay, I'm going to nominate John Boyle. Okay, is there a second to nominations? First for Joe.
Thank you. Take my phone with me.
Well, I guess the question I would want to ask is, John, are you interested in serving?
Well, after our last meeting, when Bob said that we wanted to volunteer, and he mentioned that, I did send an email to Bob and say I would volunteer for it. And I did have a conversation with Jane, and I believe, Jane, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but you did contact me and asked me if I was interested. And we talked about it. I talked about my experience in the waste management sector of town government for the last 30 years, starting when we had a landfill at one point and then progressed to a transfer station and so on and so forth. I think the experience I got in business and with the waste management is invaluable to the community.
Okay.
We have two board members interested in me. Is there anything preventing the two from being on it?
Yes, we only can have one.
Okay. Well,
Dan, do you want to second any of the nominees?
I don't know, I just feel like it puts me in a tough position.
Okay. All right, I'll second John Boyle.
One thing I would say is this might be appropriate to have the vote with Mark present.
Okay, we can delay this to next meeting, to the 30th, and we'll have a majority of the board.
And to give him a chance, to weigh in.
Okay.
Unless you guys think I'm overthinking it.
No, it'd be the right thing to do. So,
Well, I mean, it's obvious who Mark's going to vote for. I mean, let's not be stupid here. No, I will just.
Not necessarily true, John.
Huh?
Not necessarily true.
Well, I just withdraw my name if it's going to have to be contingent upon Mark. I mean, I know what's going to happen here.
In that case, I suppose we should work quickly and efficiently as well and not wait to make decisions. Well, in that case, John, you seem pretty passionate about joining this committee, and based on your record and your history, I think I could support the nomination. So I'll second Bob's nomination of John Boyle to the Waste Management Committee.
Okay. All right, is there anybody going to second Joe?
No, I'll withdraw, Bob. John, I didn't know that history, so I will withdraw and just support John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did, in writing, mention this to Bob, that I was interested in my history, and to Jane, and extensive history in waste management and business operations, and also have a great knowledge, personal knowledge of the many vendors in town and what their views on this is. By the way, they're enthusiastic about it, getting it up and running. They really are. And hopefully, and the key here is, talking to Jane again, the key is to getting the authorization from Pittsfield to bring the recyclables down to, what is it now, Jane? Echo Power? Something like that? And, we get that, we can move. If we don't, but it looks good right now, according to Jane. She said A couple of conversations with Matt Kerwood, the CEO, not the CEO, the CFO, Pittsfield, and the mayor's right-hand man. So it looks good.
And the other part is to track the actual cost of our transfer station to renegotiate prices with Casella at the end of the first year contract.
Yep. Yeah, it'll come up sooner than you think, Joe, because we only signed it up for a 2-year contract and half of it's gone. One half of 1 year is gone.
Okay, let's move on. Okay.
Vote.
Okay, a motion been made and seconded. A roll call vote. Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Bob? Yes. John, you want to vote for
Yes.
yourself? That's
Sure.
okay. All right, you will be our representative, Joe. Thank you for being a gentleman about it. Okay, now, James, the committee. You want to present your committee to the commission? Or that's Selectboard?
Yes, sir. So thank you so much. And so this Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee, I'm actually really excited about it because honestly, we need support and we need to move forward on this. And so the mission of it is to provide support to me and also the education and enforcement coordinator, which I would anticipate will be advertised for this very week, to increase the quantity and improve the quality of recycling, decrease solid waste, and minimize costs for the town of Dalton residents. As you might know, the Board of Health passed regulations, both for their 604, their solid waste regulation for haulers that requires them to provide bulk or bundled pricing for recycling and solid waste. What that means is they can't just provide one or the other. They have to provide both. And then, of course, there's the Chapter 270, which is the solid waste regulations for generators that had a recycling bylaw mandating recycling by residential and commercial generators. So here, the town of Dalton has regulations that requires everyone to recycle, and we require the haulers to provide that. And in fairness to the haulers, the intent is it would only be fair to assist them and
Tonight, I kept saying the meeting didn't start.
had good conversations. It's happening. It's just we're waiting to hear back from a CEU from them. And so the second thing is to review the transfer station contract, and follow up with them. Casella hasn't returned the revision yet. It's been promised, but again, having a committee like this will help bring that to the forefront and push things forward. One is to collaborate with the education and enforcement coordinator to educate private haulers and the residents about what the requirements are of what the new recycling bylaw regulations are. The fourth thing is to provide recommendations to improve recycling levels and the purchase of recycled content in town municipal buildings, really, so that we can start tracking that and seeing if there's areas within even the town that we should be increasing our recycling. Research the best practices and local options for, all of our waste, including possibly composting and whatnot. There are some grant opportunities. And then that brings into number 6, which is to review and apply for relevant grants to support, the work that we're doing. So that is the scope of what this committee would be doing. The reporting, it would be report to the Board of Health and Town Manager. We're proposing that there's going to be written summary reports or formal presentations to the Board of Health, Town Manager, or Selectboard as needed, and that this committee would have an annual committee report that would be in the annual town report. So the membership, I really just wanted to put together a group of people that were very practical and had a background or something to bring to the conversation. I do have some experience in solid waste, but it's always helpful to have different perspectives coming. So I had been talking to John Ruffley about the transfer station area, and he had some ideas, and I kind of asked him on a whim whether or not he'd be interested in being part of this committee, and he was. And I think that would be very invaluable if we're talking about the operations of the transfer station, to have somebody who's actually in charge of that physical facility. In my conversations with the different industry representatives or the haulers, Terry Bowman was very interested and gave some good feedback. I know that there's some potential, some discussion around whether it's appropriate to have an industry representative on there, and I had mulled that, and that's a decision that I'm going to leave to the select board. But I do believe that we need that practical approach of what it actually costs and what actually goes into the solid waste pickups, and especially during a time we don't want to drive out all the little guys. The Green Dalton representative, Jenny Gitlett, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for, in part, Jenny did a lot of this work to get grants and got us here, and I felt like she would be a great member of the committee. And then Dan Doyle has volunteered to be the Board of Health representative. So those are the names that I'm putting forth to you. We also would anticipate of having a finance committee member on it, only in particular because of the contract discussions. And then there's also some logistics that would be really helpful to have someone that was on the finance committee on that board. So I submit it to, I respectfully submit it to you for discussion.
Okay, Sandy had wrote a memorandum to us, and Joe, I will ask you to read that memorandum as an act to move on. You're muted, Joe.
Yeah, sorry, Bob. No, I was just trying to pull it up here. And Sandy, do you have any issues with Terry Bowman on that? Do you see any conflicts, or do you agree with that? I assume you agree to it because we have the memo, but just calling it out.
No, I don't have any problems with that.
Okay.
Before we do it, Joe, does anybody on the board have a problem with her? I do not.
No, I don't have a real problem with it, but I think that if it comes down to a vote, and the commission obviously is only going to be voting to make recommendations, not making any real decisions, that possibly Ms. Bowman should refrain from voting on anything that could financially impact the industry or impact the drivers.
Okay. That'd be good.
Or more
Now, certainly she would agree to that. Other than
impact.
that, I think she'd be a valuable asset.
Okay. Okay, Joe.
One thing to say is, why not just have the industry rep as an advisory capacity to the committee rather than a voting member? I mean, obviously John said we could have them abstain, but I think just being an advisor to the committee would work just as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dan. Plus,
Fantastic idea.
1, 2, 3, 4. Plus, the other thing that you have is that if she was a voting member, then you would have 8 members, and you could end up in 4-4 or whatever the case might be. But anyways, I like the idea of an advisory as well. And then the other question I had that I didn't catch before when we did structure this, Jane and Sandra, is the term of this committee.
3 years, Joe, it says on the memorandum.
Thank you, Bob. Missed that completely. Okay.
About this, I think Jane would agree to this. She probably just doesn't want to interfere in our business. But maybe vote the committee as the names have been submitted. If it appears to be an issue with Ms. Bowman, we would come back for possibly another member and relegate her to the advisory status.
Go ahead, Jane.
I honestly don't think that Terry would mind just being an advisory role. I don't think that that's going to be an issue at all. But the board can handle that however they feel they see fit. But I don't think that that's an issue. It really is just having a practical voice at the table.
Okay. I like the idea of having an advisor person because that brings the committee to 7, and it's an odd number, and I think that's more healthy.
But I think just make it clear that the industry rep is obviously a part of the committee and welcome to participate, like Jane said, and be at that table for that insight. Okay.
Yeah, definitely, Dan.
Okay, so we'll do it as that. Okay, Joe, would you read the motion, please? Or memorandum?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the memorandum dated November 5th, 2020 regarding the appointments to the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee as presented.
Okay,
Second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
With the addition of John Boyle as a select board member, so.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing. In my brief conversation with Jane about the pending committee and their actions, it was pointed, I asked her if she had a date in mind for starting off this operation. And she said next July 1st would be the target date because, again, winter is on us. I know it's hard to believe after the last couple of days, but winter is here, and we also promised the vendors, the truck drivers, the collectors, a minimum of 2 months of pre-startup time to organize, determine rates and the various other efficiencies and changes in their business model. So again, now we're back to July 1st being the target date. Jane, if I'm incorrect, please.
Well, I'm not completely incorrect, John, but like for the chapter 604, which is the hauler reg, we, in order to get the funding for the $20,000 to pay for the EEC, we had to do a soft opening that started actually November 1st, but with actual enforcement not to start until at the very earliest, like April, May. It could go into July, but what we need to do is get that EEC coordinator on the ground so that they can do a lot of that, and that we're not fighting with the weather. So you are correct that it could be as late as July 1st, I think, for our contract that we're looking at with DEP. It might be a little bit before that, but certainly it would not, there would be no enforcement activity. I mean, for heaven's sake, first we need to get things ironed out with Pittsfield and get that going and ironing out those wrinkles. So there's a lot of work to be done. And you're right, we promised the haulers that they would have at least 2 months to implement.
Plan.
Yeah, but I'd like for the committee to start meeting much as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. Didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. Okay, roll call vote. Dan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Okay. Okay, Jane, do you have anything else for us? Thank you for doing all this.
Well, you're welcome, but I will tell you, Joe was also instrumental in getting the format down, and it really made me think about what I really felt like we needed. And I have been going to the Green Committee member meetings, and they've weighed in some. So it's been a group effort, and I think this is a really important issue. So
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing for the town.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'd like to open up as a sewer commission, please. And is Melissa on? We need to update the sewer abatement policy and procedures. Melissa, are you on?
So what I've done is had Melissa call in, and she's on speakerphone, I believe. Melissa, you there?
I am.
So she's ready to present to you through the speakerphone in the Callahan room.
Okay, thanks, Melissa.
Okay, so for quite a few years, there's been no policy in place for the sewer. And since I've taken it over from the assessor's office, I'd like to get something in writing and get approved from you guys. So I don't have any issues with the process in itself. So we have clarification on how we, set rates and how we issue abatements. So I'm
Okay.
hoping you all got a copy of what we typed up.
Right. Did everybody get a copy of that?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Okay. So Melissa, you want to present this to the board as, this is how you want it set?
Yeah, there's been nothing in place for quite some time, and like I said, since I've taken it over, I'd be more comfortable actually have something approved by the sewer commission. So if somebody were to come with me, to me with an issue about, wanting an abatement or for reasons that aren't justifiable, I can have this in place and I can say, truthfully and honestly, I'm sorry, but our procedures don't allow us to do that, just so I have something to, cover everybody.
That's a good idea, actually. I read this over and I think it's fine the way it is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would agree.
And frankly, adopting this, and should anything need to be changed in the future, we have this framework to work from. And I think it's a good starting point.
Yeah,
The other
that'd be great.
The other thing I would suggest for formality on this is to identify a procedure date that we approve this, and leads me to a different policy question, but do we review policy and procedures on a timely basis for any type of changes for regulatory map? But at least put a date on this as far as approval.
Sure, we can put today's date on if you like, Joe.
Yeah, just so there's any issues prior, or maybe you just use this as that same tool.
Yeah, let's put today's date on it, Joe, and go with that.
So,
And maybe,
assuming we approve it.
Joe, were you suggesting that the idea that the select board would review this policy on an annual basis type of thing, is that?
Yeah, annual every 2 years or something.
Every 2
something
years,
like that. Yeah, and just policies in general. So I'm not sure what our practice is, because I think a few things have come up. I know one of the future agenda items I'm going to talk about or ask about today is about a tree removal policy. So.
Okay. So, I will entertain a motion to adopt the sewer user fee and abatement as presented to the select board.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the sewer use fees and abatement policies and procedures as presented this evening.
Starting today's date, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Melissa, thank you for your work on this, and Sandy, thank you for getting this out to us, and this is really good. I feel good about this, because now we have one of our employees that has something in writing, and she don't have to sit there and get yelled at. She says, here.
Thank you.
Really, that kind of
Very good.
I witnessed that a few times, and it really bothers me when people do that to these people.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, just to mention, and I'm sure Sandra's on top of this, but I think this is also, and Melissa, thank you for bringing it forward, but for just other department heads, if they have policies, procedures that they need to review to make their operation more efficient or more understandable, we're here to support them in that effort, for sure.
Thank you, everybody, on this. Melissa, thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna close as the sewer commission, reopen as the select board.
Melissa.
On item 11,
Bye.
zoning board, petition 751 Crane Avenue. We have in front of us a petition on Crane Avenue where a person would like to put in 3 duplexes on the end of Crane Avenue. And I mean, honestly, I think it's a good idea, but I think this is one of these things we have no comment on because it doesn't really pertain to us at this point. So, does anybody have any comments on this?
Just that they must need a special permit, because ordinarily, if the applicant had a piece of land and wanted to subdivide it into 3 lots, he would go to the planning board for a I forgot the number, of a subdivision plan.
Yeah, this is what exactly what it is, John. They just want to know if we have any comments on it.
Yep. No, as usual, they leave it to the.
All I would mention is that for interested members of the public, there is a public hearing tomorrow evening, Tuesday, November 10th, at 7 p.m. via Zoom, if people are interested, people who are tuning into the select board meeting tonight.
Do you need a letter from us, Dan, or you can be our representative? Just tell them we have no say in this. We have no one way or another. We have no comment.
Me? No,
Yeah.
I have no comment.
Okay. Okay, we have, the board has no comment on this. Okay. Well, then I think it's a good idea.
Bob, we should put it in writing and send it to him by tomorrow night, just to go on record that we did our job and went on record.
Okay. Judy, Sandy, would you have Judy send the board a note saying we have no response to this or no comment on this?
Sure will.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, that brings us to item 12, town manager updates. Sandy, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a couple things. I wanted to let you know that the town has submitted the 2020 Green Grant Annual Report to the state. That was due last Friday. I want to thank Rebecca Slick for her hard work getting that done on time and submitted to the state. Also, the town has submitted for reimbursement of COVID-19 expenditures incurred by the town since the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020 through the end of October 2020, with an estimate to the end of December. The expenditures will be reimbursed by two grants, the FEMA Project Assistant Grant Program and the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund. The reimbursements for these two programs have been challenging at best. Since March, the types of expenditures eligible have been ever changing. A lot of effort has gone into making sure everything is documented as requested by each grant requirement. I want to say thank you, a great big thank you to Dan Filio, our Emergency Management Director, who has worked over 100 hours on these two grants. Thanks, Dan, for everything you have done to help secure these two grants in this ever-changing world of COVID-19. It is very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
And the last thing I was going to go over are points that Jane also have mentioned regarding the fact that COVID-19 positive cases have been on the rise in Pittsfield and surrounding areas. The results of these clusters have caused illnesses to a wide range of age groups, disrupted businesses, and impacted the ability to work for quarantine close contacts. The town is currently working on the COVID control plan that will be implemented in all town buildings to help keep employees and the public well. Some of the precautions to be taken are required use of masks in areas open to the public, indoors and out, including hallways, common areas, sidewalks, even when 6 feet of distance is maintained. Another precaution would be to keep your distance at 6 feet whenever possible to avoid being a close contact. This will decrease the chance to quarantine if exposed to someone with COVID-19. Room occupancy should not exceed 10 persons per 1,000 square feet. Offices smaller than 200 square feet should not contain more than one person. Alternative meeting spaces will need to be used. And Jane touched upon the fact that we're going to have to determine what offices are meeting that criteria. Limit time speaking to people to avoid being a close contact. Limit visitors to office spaces to essential businesses only, both town employees and the public. Ventilate offices as much as possible with an open window. Use good hygiene by hand washing. Screen yourself daily for symptoms and stay at home if you feel sick. I would like to request the honorable members of Selectboard, once the COVID control plan has been finalized, the protocols will be presented at a future Selectboard meeting for your ratification.
Absolutely, Sandy. Is there any possible chance that anybody can work from home? Is there, I mean, without impacting
I think that in March through June that has occurred, but I think we need to probably talk about that and put that as part of this control plan. What can occur, what can occur. It really needs to be discussed so that there's no
Okay.
question.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, we got to keep everybody safe, especially our employees.
We do have to keep everybody safe, that's for sure.
Quick question. When do you anticipate presenting the COVID control plan for the select board's comment and approval?
Jane, I'll leave that to you. I think we still have a little bit of things to iron out, and it shouldn't be too far from now, I would say.
Would it be ready by the 30th? That's our next meeting.
Is it the 23rd?
No, we're doing the 30th because that's Thanksgiving week.
Oh, yeah, I think that, I mean, this is a really important issue, and, you know, I would like for it to be, I would like for it to be able to be reviewed for the 30th meeting and be ratified, because we are going into, you know, a really precarious time period, and it would be good to have those policies in place.
One thing I would say, one more on this is, you don't necessarily need to wait for the select board's ratification if you need to implement policies that keep people safe. So
Yeah.
obviously the state has the guidance as well. So
The other thing too, we can always,
it's a long time. It's 21 days till the 30th.
yeah, we can also have a quick select board meeting to approve it if we had to.
Well, so there's actually minimum standards that the Department of Labor Standards has put together, and all of the things that were listed by Sandy are also on the workforce standards for the office workplace, which we are subject to. And so, honestly, I agree with you. I think that those need to get implemented. And, you know, the biggest thing of having the select board, you know, supporting us meeting those standards is just if we get pushback or we have particular, you know, factions that want to push back. It would be nice to know that we're all on the same page to support Sandy, to support myself, just for them to know that, everyone to know that we need to follow the office workplace standards.
Absolutely.
What is it, 48 hours for a public notice for a meeting, or just 72? I keep on forgetting.
48, Joe.
Yeah, so Jane, once you're 48 hours away from, and Sandra, 48 hours away from, we can just get together and approve it. So,
I just
Dan's point, we don't need to
approve
be
it as soon as you're
30th.
ready.
I agree. I'd be available.
Yeah, if we can get a majority of the board together, I'd like to do it because we got to keep people safe, and if this is important, we need to back everybody up here. And the one thing I really want to do is keep all our employees safe. It's not only the employees, it's the town people too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Well, and you know,
go ahead, Jay. I was just going to ask, does this also apply to the police department downstairs, and will it be for the whole town hall or just our? Okay, because we need to keep them safe down there too.
Absolutely, and I talked to Chief Riello, and he also we're anticipating he's going to be part of this process. So he's engaged with this process already. We've talked about it, and he knows that they're coming. But there are some things that, you know, because there is guidance already, there's a lot of it's already laid out. It's just putting it into wording. And like things like, for instance, that's a little more nuanced, is if someone wanted to go to North Carolina for Thanksgiving and they wanted to come back and then have the town pay for their quarantine, right? Pay them while they quarantined. Those are the types of things that are a little bit harder, and those are the types of things I'm leaning on Pittsfield to see kind of what they were doing. So a lot of this is going to be intuitive, and some of it's going to be a little bit more policy driven. And we could certainly separate those out so that we have the basics covered, and then some of the policy stuff might be able to be taken out and considered if you guys weren't comfortable passing it at the time that we're able to get everything together.
Yes. So once you ladies are ready with this, just let us know. And We can do, I mean, it doesn't have to be a Monday. We can do it pretty much any day of the week.
All right.
Hey, the Patriots are playing, I'll even give up my Sunday, Jane, so.
They're terrible anyways.
Oh, all right. Good to know, guys. I'll try to stay away from the Patriots games, though.
You can use them. You can use them.
Yeah, please. It's a lost season. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Sandy?
Well, yeah, there is one more thing. I wasn't under the impression we were switching the November 23rd meeting to the 30th.
I think that was voted on at last meeting. I wasn't there, but I was listening to it, but I think that's what was voted on.
I don't recall that.
I don't recall it then.
So,
No, I don't think so, Bob.
You want to go with the 23rd? We can go with the 23rd.
well, the reason for that would be is the tax rate setting process has to certify a single tax rate versus a dual tax rate, which is something that happens every year at this point in time. And the assessors were told that there's a meeting on November 23rd, and they put an ad in the paper describing.
Yeah, it was in the paper already. Yes.
Yeah, that was going to happen.
23rd. I have no problem doing the 23rd.
So I'm hoping that, so we can get that moved along and set the tax
Absolutely.
rate.
Thanks for bringing that up, Sandy.
Not a problem.
Okay, so we will do the 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on the subject of setting meeting dates, and the 23rd is a traditional date, but in December, traditionally, we try to have one meeting in the middle of the month, just because it's the holiday season. And we haven't discussed that, and it's something for you to think about, but the 14th, which is a Monday, is right in the middle of the month, and I would recommend or suggest that we set that as the one date in November, or December, unless, of course, we need other.
Yeah, let's set that now, John.
Okay.
Let's do that for a December meeting. And if there's something that comes up and there's an emergency, of course we're going to meet. Okay?
Yep, absolutely. Good.
All right. So we'll do December 14th. Okay, we'll get these straight after a while.
And to be clear, you'll also do, so you're going to do 11:23 and 11:30? Is that
No, we'll just cancel 11:30.
just 11:30? Okay. Excuse me, 11:23. 11:23.
Okay, unless something emergency comes up, we're always there. But we'll
I
do
think
the
we agreed to
23rd.
be available to ratify the COVID control plan quickly.
Oh, that's
if
right.
needed.
Okay. You all set, Sandy?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Okay.
Sandy, one thing, while I was sitting here, I drew up a list of all the all alcoholic beverage locations that are affected by our policy adaptation this evening. I'm going to forward it to you,
Yeah.
or should I just forward it to Judy?
You could
I'm
do,
going to send it to you, and you can give it to Judy or whatever.
okay. And
Yeah, please copy the whole board on that.
It's not very neat.
Oh, I mean, you can, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter.
if you forward it to me, I can make sure it's typed up and then send it off to the rest of you.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, will do.
All right.
Yeah, that's why we're all on the same page. If somebody comes to us with a question, we're gonna say, yeah, here's a list right here.
Right. And we really just want to make it clear that those applications still need to get in.
Yes,
Regardless of
and
this.
make it crystal clear. They absolutely. If it goes past November 30th and they don't file that paperwork, technically your license is void.
Yes.
You definitely don't want to do that. But
I think
he's pretty good about that.
I think it's a great gesture by the board to do this, so I feel really good about that. And I appreciate everybody's input on it. Okay, items for future agendas. Anyone?
Yeah, Bob, there's one that I'd like to get on there. I think I sent you an email before.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah, related to our question from Richard Hall. So basically what this is just for the board, is a question about the tree removal policy. So in our open space plan, it basically stated in that, based upon procedure, that there is supposed to be a an open meeting to discuss the tree removal. So do we follow that procedure? There's a John, I'm not sure if that's John Ruffley or not, that's online here, but anyways, if we can have that future agenda item, that would be.
When would you like to do that?
We can do that in December. That'll probably be a good time as well, because the second request I have is, you may remember, before COVID, we were talking about having the Green Committee actually do an education presentation to the board about grants that have been received over the last number of years, the purpose of the Green Committee, and realignment with the town strategy plan, etc. So we'd like to target that for the December meeting as well.
Okay, we'll put both of them, the Green Committee and tree removal, 14th. And then 14th. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'm going to add one after I have my moment. I got a small note to read to you, and so we'll put that on the list afterwards, but I'll wait till my time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ian.
are we going to get an update on light up the holiday activities, or some kind of COVID-safe plan around that?
Yeah,
Dan, I was just, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Chairman, or Dan, during the remarks to the selectmen, I had some information about that.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, anybody else? Okay.
And sorry, Bob, on November 23rd, I'll also give another update on the chief search.
Okay.
November 30th.
No, 23rd. 30th is canceled, Dan.
Okay. I guess I missed that.
Yep.
I heard it, but
Yeah, we're doing the 23rd, not the 30th.
doing the 23rd, not the 30th.
Correct.
Yeah, because-
And December 14th.
Sounds good.
Unless we need a meeting, so. But other than that, those are the two dates, 23rd and December 14th. Okay. Select board remarks. John, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I noticed in the mailbox yesterday that there was a email or a missive from Bob Farrell, who's chairman of the Light Up the Dalton annual Light Up Dalton committee. And Bob says that it's canceled.
Okay, somebody said they were gonna do a drive around with
Yep.
Santa or something like that.
And there was a notation in there, they're gonna, yes, do a drive-by Santa thing. And I think that's on December 12th, and I think it's the same hours, 5 to 6:30 or something like that.
Yes.
But maybe we can get that on the website or something. But anyway, the Light Up the Lights thing is canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad. This whole thing's so sad.
It is, but hey,
It's smart though.
yeah, hey, you have to do it.
And I'd like to say my hat's off to the CRA and anybody that had anything to do with the Halloween thing. I heard it was a great success. People really felt happy about it, and I guess there was over 250 kids that attended it. And it makes me kind of feel great that this town looks out to protect these young people like this. And I know it's tough for these young guys and stuff, but I think they did a fantastic job. So.
I'll echo that. Kudos to particularly the high school students who volunteered their time to give out candy, and there was a bunch of candy slides, and it was a lot of volunteerism, and I took my family through, and it was a great event, and congratulations on pulling off a good event.
And Jane, thank you for helping guide us through that. I mean, it's not an easy thing.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I just have two comments real quick. Just one, as we're coming out of this presidential election cycle, I just want to give a big thanks and shout out to our town clerk, Deb Murray, and Assistant Michelle Blake, and all the volunteers and the polling place that went off without a hitch. And it was just a great experience walking through there. I think everybody felt safe and whatnot, not only the election day, but all the mail-in ballots that they got and the work that went into it. Just a big thank you for that group, for sure.
Absolutely. I saw them the next day, and they look like they've been put through a ringer. I think in the future we ought to really kind of let them have a day off or something after that. I mean, they just put those ladies through. This was really a ringer. There was a lot of people that voted this time. It was just the way, especially the way it was voted.
And they go all day, all day, all night, and then they keep on going in the office to finalize everything. So great work by that team.
Absolutely.
And the second thing for the group, I'm not sure if you saw the letter to the editor, but cruiser and repaired their tire and just basically put on their spare without asking, and so you got a nice little letter in the editor from those young ladies' dad. So it was nice to see that.
Yeah, I was talking to Sergeant Strout today, and she said he does that a lot, and he'll never tell anybody about it.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff we really like to see.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, did I just have...
One other thing, Mr. Chairman, before I forget. Happy birthday.
Oh, not supposed to know that.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
It's almost over, thank God. Okay, I have one quick update. I got a letter today from Leslie Blake Davis, and she says, Bob, I'm writing as the superintendent of Central Berkshire Regional School District to reach out and let you know that I'm interested and willing to attend scheduling upcoming meetings that would assist you in answering questions about the education of our students this year. As a new superintendent, I'm committed to open dialogue and communication with all our 7-member towns. I believe that our success as a district around educating our students rests on the support we receive from our communities, and I'm grateful for the ongoing outreach I've received during these unprecedented times. I know that because school looks different this year, this communication is especially important right now. And she said, thank you again for the head of the time, considering allocating time for my attendance at upcoming meetings. And she wants to keep fostering this relationship with us, and she wants to come and answer any questions we have. So I'm going to put that on the agenda for future agenda items, and I'm going to invite her to the 23rd meeting if that's okay with everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really good that she reached out, and there are a lot of questions because we're not sure what we're going to do. I mean, especially now with the, we thought we were going to go one direction. I think we're going to may end up doing a 180 direction again, so who knows? So.
Yeah, we got a lot of school items going on, not only related to COVID, but also related to the regional agreement and the new high school going up, etc.
Right.
So a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, and that's it. Okay, now we get to our announcements. The town hall is now open during usual hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursdays. Masks are required, and social distancing must be observed. We're still under level 2 drought. We still need to minimize overall water use, limit outdoor watering to handheld hoses or watering cans to be used after 5 p.m. or before 9 a.m. one day a week. And we're supposed to limit our installation of new sod, seeding, landscaping, etc. And we just need to establish water use reduction targets for all water uses, identify top water uses, and conduct targeted outreach to help curb their use. Transfer station new FY21 prices. The first vehicle is $115, the second vehicle is $40. The bags prices of 30-gallon bags are $4, or a package of 10 for $40. The 15-gallon bags are $3.30, or a package of 10 for $33. For a complete list, go to Dalton, Mass.gov and click on the transfer station button. New hours for our compost and brush area, Tuesday and Wednesday 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. A message from the Dalton Police Department. The Police Department is now open to the public. The Dalton Police Department lobby is now open. Please feel free to stop in to see an officer. Social distancing and masks are required, and only 2 people are allowed in the lobby at a time. The processing of firearm permits. They are processed between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. by appointment only. Please call 684-0300 to schedule your appointment. No walk-ins are being accepted at this time. A check of money order for $100 made payable to the town of Dalton. Renewals over the age of 70 are free. 2020 to 2021 parking ban. The police department is reminding the citizens of Dalton the winter parking ban, which goes into effect on November 15th, 2020, and will remain in effect to April 15th, 2021. There will be no parking will be allowed on the streets on these dates. The Dalton Library is now open from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday, Thursday, and Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday, and 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Anyone who has a high-risk population may schedule a time in the morning to come in by themselves with no questions asked. Lobby pickup continues for anyone who would rather not enter the building. Call 684-6112 for more information. I declare we need to go to executive session.
Yeah, give me a minute here, Mr. Chairman. My screen just froze. Sorry.
Okay.
1 minute.
Bob, can I ask you a question about this first?
Sure.
And don't say, just say yes. Is there another reason for this executive session besides accepting these minutes?
Oh, yes.
Okay, because the date in the minutes right here says December 9th, 2020. Well, that hasn't came yet, so,
No, we're ahead of ourselves here, John.
yeah. So if that was the reason for going to executive session, maybe we should.
I tell you what, if we had those minutes, I'd be a little nervous. Yeah, that's a typo.
We have other business to conduct, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you should have received a package for that on your, from Judy.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn regular session, move to executive session, and not return to open session to comply with the act under the authority of any general or special law, namely Massachusetts general laws, town manager screening committee discussion, and not return to open session.
Okay, so, okay. Roll call vote, John.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Bob, yes. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll go down the link that Joe sent out, okay?
Okay.
Good night, Dalton. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.